Okay, everyone. Welcome to tonight's webinar from STEM to Stars. My name is Laura Bettiol, and I am the moderator of tonight's event. First of all, I would like to start by thanking Women in Aerospace Europe, and in particular the local group of Rome for making this event possible. This webinar is the third one of the series from STEM to Stars that the local group of Rome is organizing since 2020. All the invited guests that we have here are very special representatives of the international aerospace and STEM fields who left or are currently leaving a substantial mark in our sector. They contribute to make it better and a more gender equal place. We want, or we would like to to introduce these outstanding people to all the Women in Aerospace members. These outstanding guests have a lot of experience and a lot of stories to tell us. We hope that this event will inspire you and will be for you also an occasion to hear about other people's experiences and to exchange some ideas. I see that everyone has already their microphones turned off and also their cameras, so this is great. During this first part of the webinar, we will have the chance to listen to Ornella's presentation, so please keep your cameras and your microphones off so that we can enjoy the presentation. And then when we start with the Q&A session later, you can also turn on your microphone and cameras when it's your turn. So for how do we do this? For the Q&A session, if you have any questions for our guest, please, you can book your spot by writing your a number from 1 to n, and your name after it. So, for example, if I write my name, it would be number 1 and Laura Bettiol. Yeah, so when we start with the Q&A, I will call your name, and you can turn on your microphone and your camera, and you can ask your question. So I will start with the introduction of our guest. For today's webinar, we have the pleasure to have here our special guest, Ornella Bombaci. She has a degree in electronic engineering, a master in remote sensing, and she's been working at Thales Alenia Space since 1993 in several different positions. She participated in various ESA and NASA missions and to the development of the first Italian Earth observation satellites constellation Cosmos SkyMed. She led for 10 years the observation payload engineering department and in the observation and navigation domain at Thales Alenia Space in Italy, coordinating a 40-person team that designs, develops, and tests microwave instruments for Earth observation. She's now in charge of leading the directorate that coordinates the bids and future business activities of the company. So, welcome, Ornella. I am really glad that you accepted our invitation and that you are here with us tonight. The floor is yours.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm really honored to be here, to have been invited in this important session or webinar. I hope to give you to satisfy your expectations and to give you all these outstanding answers that you ask for me. I would like to be very short in my presentation because I really want to answer to your questions. So I'll be as faster as I can. Then, if you have specific requests for specific topics, I'll be very glad to answer. I understood. I joined Women in Aerospace several years ago. I'm very proud of being part of this organization because my story and the story of all the guys and girls that comes here is a story of success because we are together and because we let's say we in a certain way exchange our experiences in growing the knowledge, the mutual knowledge, the mutual needs, so to grow together. So I believe that this kind of organization could be the boost for improving our way of life, way of professional life. So, since Laura wants that I show you and I tell you my story, I will be very brief in saying that, as Laura said, I had a degree in electronic engineering taken in 1992, and I began my professional life in Thales Alenia Space just a few months after the thesis. I was very, very lucky. I mean, because since the beginning, I participated to this amazing story of the space in Italy and in Thales Alenia Space. The name at the time was Aerospace. There was the very start of that story because, as you know, probably the Alenia Spazio was burned just a few years before I came. And so we were pioneer. We were 40 people, maybe less than 40 people that are looking at the Earth observation. Especially, I was soon involved in the Earth observation department. So having the lucky to continue my thesis work in the industry, and so participate into lots of mission that has the first mission in Earth observation and exploration. An important things to say is that in that period, the Italian Space Agency and NASA has lots of activities together. So one of the most exciting things that we have done were done with NASA, starting from Cassini mission. That was the first mission that went to Titano, that is a satellite of Saturno. That was, let's say, indicated by scientists as the most similar to the Earth for several features that he had. Then we participated to the shuttle mission SRTM, and I went very young in Houston to participate to 15 days mission of the shuttle embarking a synthetic aperture radar, so an imaging radar. Then we had let's say, the challenge to make an idea of Professor Picardi a reality. The challenge was to discover the lakes of water in the underneath of Mars. And the story started at the end of 90s and has been concluded, or it's not concluded at all, but has the first success just a couple of years ago. So a long story again. And I was to this participating as a young analyst, or let's say young engineer, making lots of job from again analysis to design to architectural design or software developing and so on. So lots of activities, very very different. And different from one initiative to the other. Then the turning point was Cosmos Climate. when in the same period in which Italian Space Agency went to Cassini, to Titano, to Mars, in the same period, Italian Space Agency decided um, to develop a constellation of satellites that should monitor the Earth's surface every day, every night, with all the weather conditions. This can be done through synthetic aperture radar, so radars, which has the capability of imaging the Earth, so producing photographs. They a quality that at the human eyes is not so good because it's in scale of grays, but gives lots of informations that the typical photographs in optical images cannot give. As first, because the radar use its own signal to illuminate the surface. So the radar doesn't need the sun to look at the Earth, but it has his own sun that is the signal, the radar signal. And after that, because this signal that is an electromagnetic one, um, brings lots of information from the Earth. It catch the information from the surface of the Earth and bring them to the satellite again, the echo. So the post-processing of this echo gives to scientists lots of information. Not only scientists, but also users, normal users. The step that we made from the exploration, so Cassini, Mars Express, to the Cosmos Skymet was that the people understood that these space activities could have an impact on our day life, because observing the Earth with so high frequency, so every day, every night, with more than 400 images per day, is something that gives people the opportunity to monitor, to look at, to preserve, to take care of the Earth. So the great step was this, to understand that space is not something for scientists, it's not only something for, let's say, investigation of the science and of the techniques and technologies, but it is also something that we can really use every day. And I participated to this, and this is lucky. As again, it's a story of luckiness. So giving Italy and the world this very large constellation. Now is 5 satellites. The fifth was launched 1 year ago, more or less. And so probably in these days you have seen the story of the boat in Suez Channel. Lots of images coming from satellites from Cosmo, and also Sentinel-1 that was also developed by Thales Alenia Space, gave people the opportunity to understand how many boats were stopped because of this incident, and so to understand which impacts on the business of Egypt, of all the countries which has boats that pass through the channel, has been impacted by this incident. So nowadays it's very clear that space business is something that has an important impact on our day life. When I started, no. So I can say that very briefly that I participated to this, let's say, change of mind, change of way of life for the human being by using satellite services as a normal object of our life. I participated especially to Earth observation, but as you perfectly know, communication by satellite puts people who has, let's say, that has no possibility to talk by phone normally. They now use satellite links to put together people in different parts of the world. You perfectly know that now we can't move from our home to another place without having a navigator in our hands, in our a cellular phone, and this is possible only because we have satellites constellations. So I participated very briefly again to this change of story when the space became something that we use every day. So I can stop now the story because I guess that you have something to ask, Laura.
Yeah, I have many questions, and thank you very much for your presentation, for your introduction. So I will just start with the first question. So in the literature about gender-related studies, finding a mentor is a very important aspect. Can you tell us if you had a mentor when you were younger, and how this mentor helped you develop your career path or inspired you at the beginning of your career? And is there somebody who keeps inspiring you also now?
Oh, yes, sure. For me, it's an honor. I had lots of mentors. I mentioned before Professor Picardi. There was at the very beginning of the story, because it was at university. Um, he was inspiring. He was not a mentor by definition, let's say. He was inspiring because he was a person who decided to have a goal in his life, and we perceived that goal by all these moments of his life, day and night. He worked as always, and he was famous for that. He was able to go in Washington and come back in the same day, because he had to meet someone and to share with him an idea. So he was really inspiring for me, and I will never. And I had a great memory of him. But when I went in Thales Alenia Space, my first boss was my mentor. I looked at the definition of mentorship in these days, and I discovered that the mentor is one that takes you by hands. And he was my first boss, Leonardo Borgarelli, and the way he took my hand was because he had trust in me. I think that what we need to look for in a mentor is the trust, the mutual trust. As you can understand, when you go out of university, you don't know nothing, more or less, or how to work, what the professional activities means. You have lots of informations. You are competent. You are clever. You have a degree, but you don't know how to move in the professional life. He succeeded in understanding soon my areas of improvements, and helping me to covering these lacks without making me understand that we were doing this. At the end of the story, I understood that I made lots of progress in my way of thinking, living, in obviously working through his example. I don't know if example is a good word. Taking me by hands. That's not so easy to find something that can do this. But I think that we needed to look for always. So a mentor is not someone that show you how to do, but it is something that show you what you are. So if I may give if I can give a suggestion, is to search for people who help us to be a model of ourselves. I don't know if these phrases can be clear. I think that the best way to be to achieve our goals is to be exactly correspondent to what we are. And the mentor is something that can help you in understanding who you are.
Thank you. But you had two male figures as mentors, let's say. But
Yes.
but how do
Yes.
you feel being a woman in the aerospace field and important person, let's say, in your company, and how did this affect your life?
Yes, I have two male mentors. Yes, I think that this question needs to be deepened a little bit uh, because it is to say that when we speak about being or having a position now is something that you are telling in 2021. So 28 years have passed, unfortunately, and it is not an issue about the aerospace world or any other business field. It is, let's say, progress that the society have done in these 30 years. As I said at the beginning, no, I'm very happy to be honored, and I am honored to be in this organization because I really believe that lots of steps have been done in these 30 years. I don't want to say that at the beginning I felt in any way discrimination about the fact that I was a woman in the professional field. I'm only saying that society has changed in these 30 years. 30 years ago, it was absolutely clear and shared that there is the woman that has in charge the responsibility of a family. So everyone was expected that in case you have a son, you should stay at home. And we have very sharp lead time. No, we have 5 months, two before and three after the children, the child born, and it was all very clear. In these 30 years, the story has changed. It's changed a lot. The parental leave is a word that we acquired at the beginning of 2000. There's no a woman leave, but it's a parental leave. So the parental job is something that men and women can share as a peer, absolutely as a peer. So today, I have lots of colleagues that stay at home while their wives go work after having a child. So again, the aerospace field is as all the other fields, I suppose, in the world. Maybe a little more advanced because science, technologies helps people to open mind, let's say, and to be more modern, more actual. But in general, what I can say is that being a woman now makes no difference. Surely, no, all defenses have been destroyed. I see that the pandemic issue makes another hole in the last fences, maybe, that is the smart working. The fact that this smart working has been requested and allowed to the same numbers of male and female resources means that now men and women think about their personal life in the same way. Maybe our industries, I mean aerospace industries, helped in this process because again, 30 years ago, I didn't felt any difference in being a woman.
Okay. Good. Yeah. So I have another question. You work as a manager at the moment, and is there an aspect of your job that you particularly like or that inspires you?
Yes, yes. This is a. I need to tell just a short story. When I select electronic engineering as a topic at university, I made a guess, in the sense that my personal interest was the monitoring of the Earth. I had a mentor at primary school that was my teacher at primary school that talks about ecology, and in 70s there were very strange words at that time, but she helped us children to look at her as a richness, as our richness. She read Gianni Rodari, that is a famous Italian writer that talks about sustainability and ecology in 70s. And so she developed in me this interest on the earth, on the environment. So my intention was to look at satellite images to understand that through these images what we can do to be a sustainable society. Okay. When I decided to go in the electronic engineering, was a guess because I understood that this space business could be a solution for my ideas, for my okay wishes. Um, so my pride now is that really find images that can help human being to monitor their Earth resources, to solve all the issues that we can see today. Is the word we have listened more before COVID, but there was the last word that we listened before this terrific story of COVID. So my proudness is that we are, let's say, a link between what the technology and the science can do, and the society, the normal, the people who lives in this earth, and since some years ago asked why space. We spend so much money in space while we have all this problem. Now they understand, I suppose, and I'm quite sure that they understood that space is one of the solutions of all these issues. And this is surely inspiring me. But you use also another word, that is manager. Manager is intended as manager of activities, essentially. And it is true, absolutely. And you're responsible of the activities. But manager is also manager of people. And this is one of the aspects of my work that I loved more. Because when you are responsible of the professional growth of something, of answering to her or his needs for doing something or achieving something, or meeting somewhere or someone, you have the possibility to help them in achieving these goals. Oh, it's really a pleasure. because you also create relationships, create mutual trust. If I succeed, I don't know if my mentor succeeds, but surely creates, let's say, a good a good flow of ideas, a good flow of activities that you bring with you every day. So the word manager is one of the inspiring one.
Yeah, very good. And yeah, as a manager and as an engineer, and in your whole career, you had a lot of great achievements, let's say. So, what do you consider your biggest success, and what do you consider the biggest challenge that you encountered so far?
Okay, I don't like to talk about my success, but I try to let's say to make them interesting for you. The first one that I need to mention is again Cosmos Climate. I talked about that, but let me tell the story that, as I briefly summarized, the story was born in 1990s, 90, 95, something like that, by a man, another illuminated man, that was Giorgio Perrotta, that conceived this constellation. But since this conception to the launch passed 12 years, 13 years. And sincerely, we didn't know if we succeed in doing this because it was the first time in Europe to develop this constellation. So 4 satellites. The story started directly with the idea to develop 4 satellites for providing users with lots of images every day. When I was, let's say, engaged in supporting these initiatives, my activities was related to the ground segment. It's a strange work for me, but it was really interesting with my colleagues in Aerospace, and we developed together the user ground segment. So the part of the ground segment in which the request for the images is created and sent to the control center and then to the satellite. And at most, the services in which the data are received, the raw data as they come from satellite and then processed and become images. So I was there in Matera. There was the receiving center in which the first data was received and where the data are received today still. And I was there in June 2007 when the first image, well, the first data was received and then processed. And if I need to remember something that was really exciting is that moment in which that numbers became an image of the North Pole without nothing of interesting, but surely emotion, a great emotion. Maybe Laura, if you want, I can show you that a short video in which this constellation is described.
Yes, please.
I'm afraid that the didascalia is in Italian. I will talk on that so everybody can understand what we are looking at. So please, just a minute to start.
Yep.
I hope to succeed, huh? Can you hear me?
We can hear you, but we don't
Laura?
see the video yet.
You don't see the video yet?
No, it started, but then it went away.
Okay, sorry. It's my fault.
Okay.
Now, yes, you can see. I hope.
Yes, now it works.
Okay. So this is a video that shows you what means a constellation. A constellation means 4 satellites and lots of receiving stations all over the world for the handling of natural risk and resources, the handling of security and defense. It is a dual system. That means that it is being paid by the Italian Space Agency and the Italian Minister of Defense for both applications. It looks at the Earth surface every day, producing hundreds of images every day. On demand. That means that in case of any hazardous situation like earthquakes or any flooding, whatever, any user, civilian or defense user, can ask for dedicated images for that hazardous situation. And they receive the images related to this hazardous situation in few hours. So they can manage, they can understand what has been, what happened. For example, during the terremoto of L'Aquila, the earthquake of L'Aquila, we had lots of images that make Protezione Civile understand what was the impact of this earthquake in all Abruzzo. This constellation was developed in 12 years, together with the ground segment that was developed by Telespazio. It is working till now, producing these such strange images that you are looking. They are grayscale because there's no the sun illumination that gives colors, but is the electromagnetic signal that goes through the Earth and comes back to the receiver of the satellites. And so this is only, let's say, a representation or a visual representation for the human eye to understand, but most information are in the data are not visible like a normal photo. What was our proud was that I come back was that we had the let's say the real challenge to develop such kind of system.
Okay.
So Mars, can you hear me, Laura? Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
Yes.
The audio was gone for a moment.
Okay. No, yep. I'm here.
Good. So now it's already almost 6:40, so I would suggest we continue with the Q&A for from the participants. Thank you again very much for sharing your experience with us. And I would invite all the participants now to turn on the videos if you want. And you can, let's say, book your spot for the questions in the chat, as Alice started already. And then I will call one by one everyone who wants to participate and ask questions. Okay. Yes, Alice. Alice already wants to ask a question. She started with the example, but she actually wants to ask a question.
Yeah, thank you very much, Laura. And thank you very much, Ornella, for this amazing presentation and for all this information that you have shared. It has been inspiring, really.
Thanks.
So I've been always passionate about remote sensing, and it would be very nice to hear from you. What would be, in your opinion, the future of remote sensing, let's say within aerospace applications?
Okay, that's nice. As you know, in this period, in this year, last 2020, difficult year, we faced the Copernicus high priority mission that is, let's say, the challenge of European community to expand the Copernicus constellations to other important instruments that can cover the gaps in the Earth observation. The European Space Agency has issued 6 requests for proposal for 6 brand new instruments that will monitor the Earth for lots of applications, essentially recovering or trying to understand this issue about the climate change, the issue on the Arctic and Antarctic glaciers that had a very, very difficult moment, and they are causing lots of impacts on the weather. So I see that in the last ministerial, all the European nations has put lots of money on space opportunities. That means that all the governments have understood that space is again one of the solutions to these issues. And fortunately, we as Thales Alenia Space won 3 missions. So now we are responsible for 3 missions, but all the European industries are involved with different responsibility to these 6 missions. And now we are looking for other missions that expand the actual Sentinel constellation. So the future is very large, rich of opportunities for all the guys, male and female, that wants to approach the space and the Earth observation especially. Yes.
Thank you very much.
The next question would be from Luca Ferrone.
Hi, Luca.
Hi, hello. Thanks a lot for your testimony. It was really interesting. So my question is, you said you were lucky at the beginning. If I understand.
Sorry, Luca.
Can you hear me?
Your voice is interrupted so much.
We couldn't understand your question. Sorry.
Sorry, my internet is bad.
Is it possible to write? Yes.
Yes. So I was saying, if I will understand, you started in very early in Alenia.
Yes.
And I believe that it's not all part of luck. You also need to find with a good opportunity. How is it today in 2021 without COVID? How is it to start today?
How is it to start today?
Yes. What is the best way to start working today to have the first opportunity? Thank you.
Okay. The best way is to find a position in which you can learn by acting. I mean, if you want to approach this kind of work, you surely had a degree, so you have studied so much on books. But surely, as soon as possible, you need to work directly on something. What I try to do with younger people who come in our industry is to put them in contact with the real work, day by day work, possibly building something, designing, and as soon as possible, producing something. Because when you pass through the hardware, let's say, you can understand lots of things that books can never give you, lots of information that otherwise you can achieve. And then you can go through other kinds of works. But sure, you should choose industries or positions in which you can act soon, touching things and developing hardware, software, or in any case, putting your hands in the things to understand them. And it is the same. It's the same now, and it was the same in '90. The space is a job that we don't know how to do. We discover step by step. So we need to experiment every day since the beginning.
The next one in line
I hope I answered, Luca.
He seems to yes. Okay, so the next one in line is Anna Maria.
Oh, my friend.
Hi, Ornella. First of all, many thanks to have accepted our invitation to be our guest for a very important project that try to transfer the experience of women to the young generation. That is very important. And I have really appreciated your answer to the Laura question about manager. And your answer is typical of women, because it's not the approach of men as boss, but as leader, where it's important to have the recognition of our colleagues. And my question is, how far we are to the possibility to have the recognition also at industrial level of a different role model that is the female role model in complement to the male role model.
How far? You ask me. I hope that you're not so far, Anna. What I think you know perfectly, but you are challenging me. I think that you and me face this issue every day. But let me say that when you ask me you invite me to be a role model, I ask to myself, what is the meaning of this role model? And my answer was, the most important thing is to be the best model of ourselves. I mean, we need, as a female, to be continuously in touch with our personal way of acting. When we succeed in being women, without, let's say, trying to absolutely act as a man in all his, let's say, characteristics, we will succeed in these. I mean, as you said, when you have a female boss, you can understand the difference of having a male boss, surely. But I'm also sure that there are lots of male boss that will be happy to act as a female one. I mean, if we continue in showing them that it is possible to be a boss, to be a manager, to be a leader, acting something different than the typical male way, they will follow us. But I had a mentor. Don't forget it. I had a male mentor that was the first one that acted this way. So I'm sure that that will happen because it has already happened. Thanks for your question, Anna.
Okay, the next.
Thanks to you.
The next question will be from Stefania Tarquini.
Hi, hello Ornella.
Hello, hi.
Thank you very much
Stefania.
for the presentation. It was really nice.
Thank you.
I actually have two questions if there is time.
Yes, I hope so.
The first question is a little bit controversial. So in my career and my experience, so in your career and your experience, have you ever felt being advantaged because you're a woman?
No.
No?
No. No, sincerely, no. Advantage, no. I felt that someone can think that it was an advantage. Yes.
Because nowadays, what I see is that a lot of organizations are trying to push to have, of course, more women.
Yes.
And then you never know if some of these people are selected because they have the skills or because they are women. But of course.
Yes. Yes, it's a pity. Yes. It's a controversy. As you use the right word. It's a controversy because we need at the end. I think about that so many times. And at the beginning, I said, no, I don't want gender equality by rules because we have to reach this gender equality by fact, not by rules. But we need rules. Unfortunately, we needed rules. At a certain moment, someone has to decide that a woman has to stay in that place. Okay, and it was quite simple because they found lots of women ready to take that place. Okay, this has a drawback. You are perfectly right. The drawback is that these rules oblige to select people because they are women. This is the best. The best fault that we can do, but sincerely, I have to say that I didn't feel this in my professional life. What I felt was that someone can think that a woman has been selected for that, even though it is not true, and this is the worst drawback. That we have to take care for, because we have to have care. I think we manager leaders, everyone has to take care of the fact that this selection is done because that woman is the best, not woman is the best at all. But at a certain point, the society needed to, let's say, be obliged to look at a group of women because in the past they didn't look at all. But now we have to be very to take attention to the fact that the selection is done because you are selecting best candidate without gender.
Yes. Thank you very much for your answer. And then the other question that I had is that in your experience of being a manager, when you try to be a manager for especially an organization which is more and more international, have you ever felt underqualified because you are not English mother tongue and your Italian mother tongue? So let me rephrase that also in another way. Have you ever felt that some other people are more effective in communicating topics and doing presentation or expressing their ideas because they are English mother tongue, and therefore people were looking less at you because, of the language barrier?
No, sincerely no again. because I'm just wondering about my experience in NASA or in JPL. They are really English mother tongue, and let's say also quite incomprehensible, because the American tongue is quite difficult to understand for us. But they were very patient, and they didn't absolutely take care of our difficulties in language. Absolutely no. Even talking with our European colleagues, let me say that our English is not so bad. Italian English is not so bad. Other languages has more difficulties because they have different sounds, while Italian is quite resilient towards English. When we speak with other peoples like Korean or let's say in general Eastern people, they have more difficulties because they have also a different alphabet. So sincerely, the problem of the language is not felt. Surely, it is needed to know English tongue. Well, you can listen to me. I'm not so good in English, so this level is absolutely appropriate.
Okay, thank you very much for your answer.
Thank you for your questions. Really.
Yeah, very good. Then I would say we close here.
Oh, I see lots of questions. Oh, wow.
Yeah, unfortunately, we are almost running out of time. I want to thank you again very, very much, Ornella.
You're welcome.
It has been very, very inspiring to hear from you directly about your experiences and about your successes as well. But before concluding,
sorry, Laura.
Yes?
If people who have some questions, like, may they send me by email this question?
If you want to share your email address with them in the chat,
yes.
maybe, of course.
Okay.
So, but I have one last question for you. So if you want to share a final take-home message, addressing it in particular to the youngest participants of this event, who are maybe about to enter the work environment, if you want to say some words to take home.
Yes, sure. I think that what I can suggest you is to be strong and resilient. The story is long. If you're young, you have a long story to write, and you need to do this with your colleagues. So please be in team always. Gain their trust and be resilient, because the story is long and difficult. In general, it is. But if you have studied and if you believe in yourself and in your choice, you surely succeed. You don't know how now, and at the end you will not know as me, but you'll succeed, surely. Be resilient, and you go.
Good. Thank you again. And thank you also to all the participants for being here today and for your contribution as well. As a local group of Rome, we are very happy to see a lot of interest in our events and in our activities.